Am I really in love, or am I in love with the idea of being in love? Now, if this is a question that has ever bothered you, then stay tuned till the end of this episode. I can assure you it's going to be fun, it's going to be revealing. But before we begin, let's talk about the man who made human emotional confusion profitable, William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in the 1500s in England. No royal title, no elitist degree. But he had an uncanny capability to observe human emotions and then expose them beautifully. He wrote tragedies that will break your heart, like Macbeth, Othello, Hamlet. But he also wrote comedies, but of a very different kind. His comedies had ego, longing, they were filled with mistaken identity, and that one human habit of always falling in love with what is imagined rather than what is real. So, Twelfth Night was a play which was written by Shakespeare in 1601. This play is chaotic, it's romantic, it's of course deeply psychological, and that's why it is a perfect pick for my channel. Hello, this is Stuti, that is YOLO, and welcome to my channel. You're watching
The Stuty Show. The tales say more than they seem.
Now, Twelfth Night begins as dramatically as it could, with a shipwreck. A woman named Viola, she finds herself washed away on an unknown island called Illyria. She has a brother, twin brother Sebastian, whom she thinks has not survived the shipwreck and unfortunately drowned. Now, this is a woman all alone in an unknown country, and as it is not very safe for a woman to be traveling alone, she decides to disguise herself as a man and calls herself Cesario. There's a very famous line that Viola says in the play: "I am all the daughters of my father's house and all the brothers too." This depicts her struggle of being a woman disguised as a man only for survival and protection. Now, Viola decides that she's going to start working for the ruler of Illyria, which is Duke Orsino. And this is where the first dramatic reveal happens. Duke Orsino is in love with a rich, beautiful, wealthy woman named Olivia. Of course, he constantly talks about her. He says, "If music be the food of love, then play on." Now, he's dramatic. He is deeply in love, intensely in love. However, Olivia, she on the other side is mourning the death of her brother. And she has sworn she will never see a man for the next 7 years. 7 years. That's like more than what most modern relationships survive. Now, Duke Orsino, he decides that he's going to send Viola, who's dressed as Cesario, to woo Olivia on his behalf to deliver his message of love. And this is where the real drama begins. Now, Viola, dressed as Cesario, goes to Olivia and she starts speaking passionately about Duke Orsino's love. When Olivia sees this, she finds Cesario a young, passionate man, because Viola is, while she's describing the feeling of Duke Orsino, is secretly pouring her own heart into every single word. But of course, Viola is secretly falling in love with Duke Orsino herself. So now, something unimaginable happens. Olivia, instead of falling in love with Duke Orsino, falls in love with Cesario, who is actually Viola. Now, Viola finds herself stuck. She cannot reveal her true identity, but at the same time, she cannot even return Olivia's feelings. Viola says, "Oh time, thou must untangle this, not I. This is too hard a knot for me to untie." Now this forms the famous love triangle. Orsino loves Olivia. Olivia loves Cesario, who's actually Viola. And Viola is secretly in love with Duke Orsino. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Shakespeare saying, "Welcome to human desire." Olivia, she has a steward called Malvolio. Malvolio is very serious, upright, self-righteous, all spine, no humor. He thinks that he's better than everybody else, and he also has the secret desire to rise in social status. Enters Maria. She is the clever and mischievous servant of Olivia. She decides she's going to trick Malvolio. She forges a letter as if it's coming from Olivia. And in that letter, Olivia writes that she loves Malvolio and she's ready to marry him. But Malvolio has to prove his love for Olivia by smiling constantly, wearing yellow stockings with crossed garters, which was very unfashionable even in those times. What does Malvolio do? Of course, he presents himself in front of Olivia, smiling widely, wearing yellow stockings. And what does Olivia do? She thinks that he's gone insane. He looks unhinged and she decides to lock him away. Of course, Malvolio has to now leave. He goes saying, "I'll be revenged on the whole pack of you." In the next act, while all this confusion is happening, Sebastian, Viola's twin brother, remember? He is actually alive. He has been rescued by a kind sailor called Antonio. Sebastian decides he is going to return to Illyria in search of his sister. Now, because Sebastian looks exactly like Viola when dressed as Cesario, more confusion happens. Olivia, she looks at Sebastian, mistakes him for Cesario and proposes marriage immediately. Because in Shakespeare world, due diligence is optional. Now Sebastian is confused but flattered. Because Olivia is kind, she's beautiful. Even though he does not fully understand what is happening, he agrees and they get married immediately. Eventually, in the final act, Sebastian and Viola, they appear together. They reveal their identity as twins. Identities when revealed, of course, accusations fly. Viola removes her disguise. Orsino feels betrayed. Olivia is confused. But truth restores order. Orsino, when he looks at Viola, he realizes that perhaps he has been in love with Viola all along, or perhaps proximity rewrote his heart. And they both decide to get married, Viola with Orsino. So you see at the end, Viola, Orsino get married, Olivia, Sebastian get married, everybody pairs off neatly. So then what's the real lesson here? That love is blind. On the surface, the play shows us how quickly we fall in love with appearances, with imagination, rather than reality. I think the play also asks us, do we really fall in love with a person or we fall in love with an idea? Let's dig a little deeper here. Viola, she is in a disguise to survive. Orsino, he loves the idea of longing. He claims to be in love, but is it really love or self-indulgence? And then we have Olivia. Olivia, she falls instantly for mystery. But is she really in love with Cesario, or she loves the idea of breaking her own rules? Then we have Malvolio. Malvolio is the most human of them all. He wants to rise in his social status. He falls for mystery, but he ultimately wants to be mattered. He wants to be admired. Is that really foolish? In this play, everybody's pretending. Nobody sees the real person. The question is, do we ever see the real person? So, do we fall in love with the person, or do we fall in love with a reflection? Reflection, projection is necessary, because that is how attraction begins. Because in the beginning, we don't know the person. We always just imagine them. So is pretending then necessary? Yes, it is. But it should eventually end. The danger is not holding the mask. The danger is forgetting to remove it. Twelfth Night is funny because it exaggerates what we already do. We all perform, we edit ourselves, we fall in love with versions. But the truth eventually arrives. And when it does, the question isn't, did I pretend? The question is, am I ready to be seen? And if someone decides to stick with you after the disguise fails, that is the real comedy. So true. So that's the story, guys, of love, of chaos, of confusion, and of the courage that it takes to step out with your real name. So do let me know in the comment section, what is the disguise that you have been wearing? I love to hear back from you. And before we end, remember to like, to share, to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching my channel. See you next time. Bye.